Hello to our thriving community of business owners. I am Brenna, and this is HR with Brenna, a series I host to help business owners unravel the complexities of HR so they can build the businesses of their dreams without the headaches. Today, we are going to look at the costs associated with outsourcing your HR. So let's jump right in with some of your questions. So the first thing people usually want to know is how much is it going to cost to outsource my HR? So there are several different levels of support, and that's really going to impact what the bottom line looks like for you. So in some cases, you might just be paying a low monthly fee, and in return, you're going to get access to resources, tools, and maybe some basic support, and that might be enough for a small business. However, if you're wanting some more direct employee support, or you have a more complex environment, you're growing, you might need to look at that next level of support. That could consist of direct hands-on projects, recurring work. In that case, there's a couple of different fee structures you might see. One might be a fixed fee. So that could apply to either the recurring support or projects, where they're going to come in and for a specific scope of work, they're going to charge you a fixed amount. That is going to vary based upon the scope of service as well as your headcount. It could be anywhere from a few hundred to a few $1,000s per month. Now, the other fee structure is a per employee per month model. In that case, you're again going to have that base fee that's going to be based upon your headcount, that's going to be based upon the actual scope of services to be provided. And then you're going to pay that amount per employee per month. Again, that could be anywhere from maybe $50 up to $200. It all depends, but in either case, it's most likely going to be cheaper than going out and getting a full-time hire. So a business owner might want to know which level of support is right for them. And really, it's going to vary, but in general, that lowest level of support could work really well for a business that has pretty simple needs. So for example, if the headcount is low and you don't anticipate a lot of growth, you're not in a high complex state like California, Colorado, New York, or if someone on the team has some basic HR experience or knowledge, then you could very easily get by with the lowest level of support and be fine. Now, if you are in a more complicated state, if you anticipate you're going to have some headcount growth in the near future, if you have some complex needs on your team, but really if you just don't have any interest or capability on your team in HR, then outsourcing that next level of support is probably in you and your team's best interest. So something else a lot of business owners want to know is how is outsourcing my HR going to reduce costs? So I can speak to how we approach this at Milestone. I certainly would not speak on behalf of the entire outsourcing industry, but the way that we approach this at Milestone is that working with us is generally almost always going to be more cost effective than a full-time hire. The advantage, though, is that small businesses do need a full spectrum of HR support, right? They need someone who can provide the basic HR compliance. They're going to need a manager for some more complicated issues, and then someone at a VP or higher level to help provide some strategic guidance, especially to a growing business. What we are able to do is take the appropriate skill sets and provide them in a ratio that makes sense for the business. So a business might, for example, need 60% of HR generalist support, 30% of manager, and then 10% of strategic guidance. We can provide that in a way that's cost effective for the business. Hiring 3 people to handle those 3 roles is really not feasible for most small businesses and honestly unnecessary. So when you outsource, you're able to get the fraction of each of those positions that makes sense. So you can have a cost that's less than 1 full-time person, but it's going to give you that right ratio of generalist to manager to strategic support that a small business needs. Another question we get quite a bit is it cheaper to outsource my HR? If you're comparing it to a full-time hire, then yes, it's going to be cheaper. However, if you don't have anyone who is currently in that role, then yes, you are going to incur an additional expense, but it's going to be worth the time savings and the reduction in liability for you and for your team. Another question we get quite often is what is the average cost of the HR per employee? So this is a fairly complicated question. I'm going to answer it simply though, and from 2 different directions. One, we have a report from Gartner that shows that companies on average spend between $1,000 and $4,000 per year per employee. And that doesn't even include things like their systems and their HR related staff. Now, If you're looking at what is the cost as it relates to the outsourcing model and what should I expect to pay, really for that recurring per employee per month model, you're probably looking at somewhere between $50 to $150 per employee per month. In conclusion, when evaluating the cost effectiveness of outsourcing your HR function, there's a couple of things to consider. First, it is almost always going to be more cost effective than hiring a full-time person for the role, and you're going to get a broader skill set and a wider level of expertise. However, if you don't have anyone in the role currently, you are going to end up paying more, but you're going to see your current team's productivity increase as these things come off of their plate, and you're going to see a reduction in liability. Thank you for listening to today's HR with Brenna. If you have any questions, I'd love to hear from you. You can find our email address in the description below. And if you want to make sure that you stay up to date with all of our latest HR videos, make sure you subscribe.